The sun hung low over the battered skyline of New Avalon, casting long shadows across the desolate streets where concrete towers once soared. The city was now nothing more than a graveyard of rusted vehicles, shattered glass, and relics of a civilization that had clawed its way to the brink of extinction. What had once been a proud testament to human ingenuity and resilience was now a crumbling echo of a world that had lost its way. In the distance, a colossal structure loomed, its metallic walls scarred by time and neglect. The vault of Earth's last survivor, a name that lingered in hushed whispers among the remnants of humanity, a promise long forgotten. The vault had been established during the Great Collapse, a desperate act by the last remnant of government, tasked with preserving a final hope for humanity's survival. It was said that somewhere within those walls lay the last living person from a world that had long since turned on itself. A child of the old world, encapsulated in timeless stasis, waiting for the day when someone could unlock the secrets to reviving civilization. Marcus Knox stood atop a pile of rubble, surveying the devastation below. Tall, yet gaunt, his once human form now bore the traces of survival etched deep into his features. Sunken cheeks, unfathomable eyes, and a ragged scar that ran from brow to jaw, a souvenir from a skirmish long since forgotten. He donned a leather jacket, weathered and stained, the last remnants of a time when fashion meant something, while beneath it he wore a variety of makeshift armor fashioned from found materials. A fitting place for a legend, he muttered to himself, his voice hoarse. He adjusted the strap of his crossbow gripped tightly in one hand. He had come here with a single objective: to uncover the truth behind the vault, to see if it held the key to humanity's resurrection, or if the tales were simply the fantasies of those who had long since lost hope. Beside him stood Rowan Vallis, a fierce woman with shoulder-length auburn hair twisted into a braid that hung over one shoulder. Born in the aftermath of the Great Collapse, Rowan had never known the world Marcus had spoken of, a world where buildings scraped the sky and people thrived in abundance. She was a scavenger, skilled in navigating the ruins, her knowledge of what remained of technology acquired through years of trial and error. "No artificial intelligence, no drones, no aid whatsoever," she replied to Marcus, her voice steadied with resolve. "We need a plan to breach that wall." "I have the blueprints," Marcus said, retrieving a tattered holographic map that flickered into existence above his wristband. "The last code I managed to decrypt will get us in, but there's a catch." "Always a catch," she responded, raising an eyebrow. "The vault has been programmed with lethal defenses. If we're not careful, then we die," she finished for him, undeterred. "That's not going to stop us. We'll have to be smart. The storm is brewing." He knew she was right. Dark clouds were rolling in from the north, the ambience of stale air heavy with apprehension. They had seen the signs over the last few days. Anomalous weather, unseasonal storms building ferocity out of nowhere. Some called them the wrath of the old world, remnants of catastrophic events reignited by climate instability. They weren't uncommon, usually devastating to a population already teetering on the brink, but this storm felt different. It had a smell, a rancid charge, like the sharp crackle of electricity in the air. "Let's get moving," he said, pulling his jacket tighter against the rising winds. "We'll take shelter in the alley before we make our way to the vault entrance." Rowan led the way through the urban labyrinth, her instincts guiding her from danger to precarious safety. Each careful step was echoed by the crunch of broken glass underfoot, a clandestine symphony to accompany their silent approach. As they snaked through the skeletal remains of a once bustling district, a flicker of movement caught Marcus's eye. His heart raced as his instincts kicked in, dragging him into the shadows. "Rowan," he hissed, gripping her arm. "I think we're being followed." She turned, narrowing her gaze as she scanned their surroundings. "Do you see anything?" "Not yet. Just stay low." They pressed against the cold wall behind them, breaths shallow, heartbeats synchronized with the rhythm of the encroaching storm's howl. A few moments passed, tension thickening the air, when finally they heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, and dangerously close. "Who's there?" A deep voice reverberated through the silent cosmos, filled with authority. Desperate, Marcus shifted his grip on his weapon, prepared to face whatever menace lurked in the shadows. Ascending from a murky corner of the alley, a figure stepped into view, illuminated by the dim, flickering glow of a forgotten street lamp. "Relax," the figure said, raising his hands. My name is Joss Cade. I'm from the Coalition, and I'm not here to start trouble. His appearance was unkempt. An unruly mass of black curls overshadowed a bewitching pair of violet eyes that contrasted starkly against his sun-kissed skin. Weather-worn clothing draped his wiry frame with hints of improvised armor layered beneath. A coalition? Rowan scoffed, her stance shifting to one of defiance. You mean the same coalition that declared war on anyone who opposed them? Or the coalition that exploits the weak while pretending to offer salvation? Yoss's expression hardened. We're trying to change things. The Great Collapse was your doing. If it weren't for the likes of you and your kind, maybe we wouldn't be standing in a graveyard right now. Enough, Marcus intervened. We can argue ideologies all day, but right now, we need a way into the vault. And I'm betting you have information that can help us. Information can be traded, Joss replied, eyeing them with calculating interest. But you'll need to earn it. Rowan shook her head. This isn't a game, we're on borrowed time here. You're wasting hours. Right, Joss continued, undeterred by her glare. A storm is coming. If you don't want to be trapped out here, I suggest you listen. My team has intel on the vault. We were looking for something too, a last survivor. But it's not just about the past. It's about the future. We need to find what's left in that vault. It doesn't matter. Rowan suddenly snapped, her pent-up anger spilling over. If you think you can waltz in and barter with words, you're mistaken. The vault is a weapon, guarded fiercely, and you're naive if you think your coalition will get through. Then maybe I'm not the one who's naive here, Joss retorted sharply. You need help, help? The scorn was palpable in Rowan's voice as she glared at him. Why should we trust you or your coalition? Because you say so? Because, Joss continued, the sincerity creeping back into his tone, whatever is inside that vault isn't just another relic. It holds the power to shape the future of what's left of humanity. We can be the ones to lead it, or destroy it. In that moment the sky above fractured with thunder, reverberations echoing through the ruins of New Avalon. A chilling wind erupted with the fury of the storm, sending debris scattering like tiny cosmic soldiers, charging straight for them, chaotic and relentless. What have we done? Marcus whispered, unease washing over him. He could feel the electric charge underfoot, a harbinger of turbulence from deeper within the earth. Yoss's eyes widened. Realization dawned as he observed the flicker of light deepening around them. The storm was more than just a meteorological phenomenon. It felt alive. It was a force awakening, a catastrophic response to what they were seeking, an ancient warning that had laid dormant for far too long. Listen, we have to move, Joss shouted over the rising wind. The vault is our only hope. Rowan hesitated, the weight of the decision pulling her toward the ground. Marcus, what do we do? He felt it too, the ground shifting beneath them like a heartbeat. But their opportunity was slipping away. There was truth in Joss's words. The vault not only could be a weapon, but it could also provide a solution to the inexplicable storm surging around them. Let's go, he shouted, diving back into the fray, his instincts kicking in. We need the secrets held within that vault, and we need them now more than ever. As the winds howled and crackled with violent energy, they plunged into the chaos, unaware of the tangled webs of destiny they were already weaving into the future. A future that could either herald the dawn of a new world or summon forth its final, apocalyptic destruction. As Marcus, Rowan, and Joss raced through the shattered remnants of New Avalon, the storm intensified, swirling around them like a furious tempest come to life. The sky crackled with arcs of electricity, illuminating the chaotic dance of debris that spiraled through the air. It was as if the very atmosphere conspired against them, attempting to thwart their approach to the vault of Earth's last survivor. Keep going. We're almost there, Marcus called out, the sound of his voice barely piercing the cacophony. His heart raced as they sprinted down a narrow alley, their footfalls echoing against the crumbling walls, splattering puddles of rain that had gathered in the jagged crevices of the pavement. The storm's whines roared, merging with the rushing of adrenaline in their veins. Rowan's brow furrowed as she navigated the urban maze. What if the defenses are already activated? She shouted back. We'll be walking into a death trap. We don't have a choice. Joss replied, his violet eyes darting around, alert to the danger that loomed both from above and from deep within the earth. If we can get through the outer perimeter, we might have a chance to reach the control room before they detect us. A jagged flash of lightning split the sky, lighting up the silhouette of the vault's entrance, a massive steel door, now partially ajar, seemingly beckoning them to step inside. Marcus felt a strong pull, as though the very structure was alive and aware of their desperate need to uncover its secrets. The ground trembled beneath them, sending a shiver down Marcus' spine. This way. He led the charge, redirecting them toward the opening that might hold their salvation, or their end. The entrance loomed closer, its formidable design embodying the secrets of the past, the lessons of the old world. A chorus of conflicting emotions surged through him. Hope wrestled with fear as the realities of what lay ahead danced tantalizingly close. As they approached, an ear-splitting crack echoed throughout the street. A colossal piece of masonry shattered from a derelict building, cascading down like a torrential rain of stone. It landed mere feet away from them, sending up a plume of dust and debris that obscured their view. "Move! Now!" Rowan shouted, adrenaline propelling her forward. They burst through the threshold of the vault just as another explosion of thunder rolled overhead. The entrance sealed behind them instantly with a grinding noise, the sound resonating like a sigh of finality. Inside, the world had transformed from chaos to a stony silence, the darkness amplified by the stark flickering of emergency lights that barely illuminated the claustrophobic space. Marcus took a moment to catch his breath, scanning his surroundings. Gloomy gray walls lined the corridor, adorned with remnants of technology. A bygone era of screens and interfaces now frozen in time. "Where do we go from here?" he whispered, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing against him. "There," Joss said, gesturing to the end of the corridor, where a faint humming emitted from a heavy door marked with red lights. "That'll lead us to the mainframe. If the control room is operational, we can access the vault's internal systems. But we'll need to act fast." As they moved down the corridor, the tension remained thick in the air, trepidation creeping into their lungs. Rowan trailed behind Marcus and Joss, her senses heightened. She could feel it. The moment they crossed the threshold of the vault, they had ignited more than just their quest for knowledge. They had awakened something dormant and possibly deadly. Beneath their feet, the vibrations intensified, rumbling like an ominous growl. She stepped cautiously, glancing over her shoulder, her grip tightening instinctively around the hilt of the dagger sheathed at her side. "Did you hear that?" she muttered, a flicker of anxiety tightening her chest. "Focus," Marcus urged, casting a wary glance behind him. "We don't have time to dwell on shadows right now." As they reached the door, Joss approached the terminal fixed beside it, coated in dust and grime. His fingers danced across the surface, hastily working through the scroll of code embedded in the old machinery. The red lights blinked rhythmically, aligning with the pulse of the storm brewing outside. Come on," he muttered, brow furrowing as he entered command after command. The door seemed to resist his touch, fighting against the very intent that propelled them forward. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. And then Joss let out a curse. "I need access, but it's locked behind a security protocol. There's no way to get through unless..." A sudden vibration rippled through the floor. The alarms activated, unleashing an ear-splitting cacophony that echoed through the vault, signaling an unauthorized entry. "Great. Just what we needed," Rowan snapped, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "How long until they find us?" "Not long. We have to get in now." Joss intensified his efforts, fingers racing along the touchpad. "I'm bypassing the security locks, but I need 5 minutes. Less if I can manage it." Marcus felt the weight of the situation pressing heavily on him, a countdown that could end with either salvation or catastrophic failure. "Rowan, help him. Keep an eye on our back. I'll see if there's anything else we can use or..." "No," Rowan interrupted, horror flashing in her eyes. "We don't split up. It could be a trap. We stick together." "Fine," Marcus relented, his voice laced with urgency. "But we need to be ready for anything." With that, the tension thickened around them, an unspeakable dread looming in the air like a shadow. The storm outside surged, the walls vibrating as if in tandem with the chaos brewing beyond the vault. As Joss continued to type hastily, the lights above began to flicker ominously, casting elongated shadows that danced against the walls. And then, from deep within the recesses of the vault, a metallic clang echoed, a sound that reverberated with authority and malice. Marcus turned, eyes scanning the darkness around them, knowing all too well that they were not alone. "Did you hear that?" he whispered, tension coiling even tighter in his gut. Rowan nodded, her grip shifting on her dagger. "We've got company," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, the lights flickered rapidly, plunging the corridor into intermittent darkness. A corridor to escape, or a grave to bury them in. In the brief moments of darkness, there existed no more than a heartbeat, a chance to breathe. But in that silence, dread crept silently, tightening its grip. When the lights flickered back on, they revealed a figure trailing down the corridor, a silhouette framed by the low glow of the emergency lights. A humanoid shape concealed beneath shadows, remnants of armor glinting dangerously in the dim light, clutching a weapon that gleamed with a lethal promise. "What the hell?" Joss barely had time to finish before the intruder bolted forward, a blur of rage and purpose sprinting toward them, and Marcus felt instinct kick in. He darted into action, pushing Rowan out of harm's way as he drew his crossbow, fingers steady on the trigger. "Get to the door," he shouted, trying to keep focus on the approaching threat. Rowan responded instinctively, her footfalls echoing in rhythm with her heart as she took cover beside Joss, who was still at the control panel. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he frantically typed, the alarms blaring like relentless sirens. "Just a little longer," Joss urged, his hands a flurry of motion. The figure was now mere feet away, a grotesque mask obscuring its face, rendering its intentions unreadable. The weapon glimmered dangerously, a rifle of some kind, likely scavenged from the remains of the world outside. "I said stop," the figure snarled, voice rough and clipped. "You're not getting out alive. Step back," Marcus commanded, firing a bolt that zipped through the air. It struck the intruder in the shoulder, sending them spiraling back with a pained cry. But rather than falling, the figure staggered, stumbling back only for a moment, rage igniting its movements. It regained balance swiftly, eyes narrowing in furious recognition as it leveled the rifle towards him. "I'll make you regret that," it growled. "Now, Joss," Rowan screamed, eyes darting between the ongoing confrontation and the terminal, praying for an opening. "I need just a... Ah!" Another blast turned the dim corridor into a war zone, ricocheting off the walls as Marcus dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the impact that sent shrapnel through the air. A piece of debris lodged itself nearby, reminding him how precarious their situation had become. The storm outside intensified, eerily echoing the battle transpiring within. The power surged through the walls, with lights flickering erratically. Rowan's heart raced more intensely as she felt the tremors coursing through the structure beneath her feet. More than just a response to the storm, it felt as though something deep within the vault was awakening. "We need to hold them off," Marcus shouted, rolling back behind another barricade while reloading. "Rowan, find anything we can use, anything," she retorted, frustration burning in her veins as she rifled through the surroundings, the shadows dancing around them, flickering in and out of focus under the chaos of the lights. "Use your instincts." Marcus snapped back as he fired again, striking the figure's weapon and causing it to jerk aside dangerously. With a screen of smoke billowing forth from the impact, Joss let out a frustrated noise, hitting the controls with urgency. "I'm almost through, but I can't provide cover while doing this. Come on," Rowan called out, eyes wide as she reached for a rusted metal pole from the debris, gripping it like a weapon, feeling her pulse thudding in her temples. The masked figure charged again, adrenaline surging, the sense of urgency pushing Marcus to act decisively. He evenly braced himself between them, preparing to meet the oncoming threat head-on. But even as they focused on the immediate danger, the walls felt like they were closing in, an influx of isolation creeping into their minds. The air crackled with unease, and the storm cried out a harbinger of the unknown. What lay within the vault beyond the armed intruder? What ancient knowledge slept behind its doors? The urgency escalated, the impact of the storm merging with the chaos within. The round reverberations of confrontation painted a tableau of struggle, of survival, of confrontation that would redefine the fabric of existence. Just as Marcus readied to take another shot, the lights flickered one last time before plunging the corridor into a deep and suffocating darkness, the alarms fading into an abyss. The sudden silence was deafening, oppressive, as if the foundation itself held its breath. And then, a voice emerged from the shadows, calm and chilling. "You've ventured far, but your journey ends here." In the depths of darkness, an unmistakable weight lingered. They had breached the veil of time, stepping into an arena where echoes of the past intertwined with shadows of an uncertain future, a future that threatened to consume them whole. "Joss, can you see anything?" Rowan whispered, trepidation lacing her voice. "No. The screens are down," he replied urgently, fingers dancing on the device he had been using only moments before. "Keep trying," Marcus ordered, his resolve solidifying. "We're not giving up." As he spoke, the intruder vanished into the shadows, and Marcus felt a sharp pain echo through his chest, instincts sensing danger that transcended the tangible. Beneath the chaos, deep within the vault, threads of destiny had intertwined, ready to unfurl with devastating consequences. They had come for secrets of the past, for the hope it promised, but what they might uncover could alter more than just their fate. It could rip apart the very fabric of humanity's future. With darkness closing in and time slipping through their fingers, they stood at the precipice of chaos. Unseen dangers lurking, as the storms of change raged both inside and outside the vault, heralding the fight for survival and the truths they would uncover. In the oppressive darkness of the vault, the atmosphere pulsed with tension. Shadows flickered erratically, casting elongated forms against the walls like specters rising, heralds of the unknown lurking just beyond the reach of their dimming senses. Time felt elastic. Seconds stretched into hours as the incalculable weight of uncertainty pressed down on Marcus, Rowan, and Joss. "Get to cover," Marcus growled, shoving Rowan toward a protruding section of wall. The depths of the vault seemed to thrum with uneasiness, a rhythm that mirrored the pounding of their hearts. Joss's fingers raced over the touchpad, desperation etched across his features. "The systems have gone dark. I can't get a visual," he shouted, panic seeping into his tone. "They must have triggered a lockdown. Focus." "We can't let them win," Rowan urged. She gripped the rusted metal pole tightly, feeling its cool surface grounding her amidst the overwhelming dread. The echo of a muffled footstep sent a chill down her spine. "We can't stay blind." Marcus regained his footing, reloading his crossbow but feeling more vulnerable with each passing second. "We need a plan," he barked. "We can't just sit here." Before Joss could respond, the sliver of darkness at the end of the corridor deepened, and Marcus felt the pulse of dread picking up its pace once more. The shadows coalesced, and from that inky void stepped the intruder, a tall figure clad in dark armor, the contours obscured until it loomed before them, indistinct but imposing. "Welcome to your end," the figure said, voice modulated and echoing unnaturally in the confined space. "Who are you?" Marcus demanded, determination anchoring his voice even as fear gnawed at the edges of his resolve. A low chuckle rumbled from within the shadows of the mask. "Names are unimportant. It is the legacy of this so-called vault that binds us." Marcus didn't waver, drawing his crossbow, taut and ready. "You're just a pawn in whatever game is at play here." "Oh, but I am no pawn." The intruder stepped forward, and in the dim light, the glint of a blade revealed itself, ominous and cold. "I am the keeper of secrets, one of many. You stumbled into a realm where knowledge is both power and poison. Success or failure is a matter of fate, one that cannot be conducted through mere whims of the mortal realm." "Enough!" Rowan shouted, her voice piercing through the suffocating silence. "We're not afraid of your threats. We came for answers." "Answers?" The figure's laugh echoed through the corridor. "You seek answers, and yet you stand defiant before the truth. You're mere children playing with the remnants of a dying world." In that moment, Joss's resolve kicked in. He darted sideways to an exposed terminal where wires hung precariously. "If you want more than words, let's put your musing to the test," he shouted, fingers trembling as he began to improvise, trying to reroute the systems that had been shut down. The keeper narrowed their gaze at Joss, and for half a heartbeat, Marcus saw the glimmer of recognition flick through the figure's eyes, as if sensing the desperation brimming beneath the surface, a threat of an entirely different order. "Leave him!" Marcus yelled, darting forward, crossbow at the ready. "This is between us." But with a swiftness that left no room for counter, the keeper lunged, diving toward Joss, and delivering a swift kick, sending him sprawling backward. The metal pole slipped from Rowan's grasp, clattering to the floor as she raged forward, adrenaline fueled by equal parts fear and fury. Time slowed as Rowan reached for her dagger, plunging forward, but the figure was already on the move, flipping sideways, evading her grasp, before aiming a vicious kick toward her midsection. The impact hurled her against the wall, breathless but determined. "Rowan!" Marcus shouted, irritation surging as he directed his aim toward the intruder. "Get clear!" She rolled back to her feet quickly, pulse racing, defiance shining through the bruising shock. "It's not over yet." But before she could move again, the darkness behind the keeper shifted, and a series of mechanical sounds echoed through the vault. A heavy grinding, the unmistakable wheezes of ancient machinery, stirring to life. The chamber shook, tremors reverberating through the walls, as the omnipresent dread morphed into something dangerously tangible. With an explosive burst, red emergency lights flooded the corridor, revealing the full scope of the chamber, and illuminating the tormentor who now stood backed by a wall of steel and glass. A small army of looming, automated drones blinking to life. "No! This wasn't part of the plan," Joss shouted, scrambling to regain his footing as panic swirled in his stomach. The keeper smirked, adjusting the controls on their wrist weapon. "Consider this your lesson about legacy. Some knowledge is meant to be protected by force. Grab what you can," Marcus yelled, eyes darting toward the terminal Joss was desperately trying to work. "We don't have time." Rowan charged forward again with renewed fury, lunging for the keeper, but they gracefully dodged once more, unrivaled even in the chaos that churned around them. Flailing behind him, the drones activated, whirring noisily, centering their lenses on them as a low drone echoed ominously within the chamber. "How many drones do they have?" Joss shouted, frantically typing, trying to override the lockdown, desperate for control. The beeping of alarms echoed relentlessly in his ears, punctuating every sound with foreboding. "Enough!" came the chilling reply from the keeper as they raised their weapon. "Consider this your final reckoning." Just as the figure loomed larger, an explosion erupted behind them. The ground trembled. The vault, built as a sanctuary, had begun to awaken, the inner mechanisms buckling under pressure, releasing a maelstrom of cascading energy. The pulsing dynamics surging through the machinery reverberated like a tempest unleashed. "Joss, can you get us an exit?" Marcus bellowed through the noise, instincts aflame. Joss's fingers raced, determination battling desperation as he seemed to find some semblance of calm amid the chaos. "I think maybe, if I can just, now," Rowan shouted, grimacing as she narrowly avoided a volley of fire from the nearest drone, its energy pulse crackling with malice. To their growing horror, the keeper backtracked, summoning a troop of drones while stepping further into the recess of the corridor, unwilling to allow them an escape that could derail their mission. "You will not escape. This vault holds the last vestiges of hope, the evidence of what came before. It must not fall into your careless hands." Once again, a drone fired, narrowly missing Marcus as he ducked. Time felt fleeting, and with each passing heartbeat, his resolve coalesced into something far more primal. "We have to take it down," he shouted, pointing toward the entrance of the control room they had sought from the beginning, a slot that flickered at the far end, obscured by a mass of drones but still intact, a tangible lifeline. "I can't get there in time," Rowan grunted as she pushed forward, momentarily blocking shots aimed their way. "There's too many of them." With a scream born of desperation, Marcus locked eyes with Joss. "If we don't make it to the control room, we're done for." The realization was throbbing. They were up against not just a foe but the underpinning of what had once been humanity's greatest legacy, now lie twisted in shadow, trying to destroy those who bared their intents without fear. "On my mark," Joss yelled, breath heavy. "I can blow the terminal from here. It'll disrupt their systems, for a quick escape," Rowan added, defiance sharpening her stance. 3, 2, 1. An explosion rattled them as Joss struck a key on the terminal, just as the drones closed in. A fire tempest blazed, dancing through the room in sprays of luminescent energy, cascading across the metallic bones of the vault. The drones jerked into a frenzied state, confused circuitry glitching against their programming, an artificial heart wounded. "Now move," Marcus yelled, dashing toward the chaos as the nearest drone stumbled, smoke curling from its now blinding optical sensors. Rowan followed Marcus as the two raced toward the entrance of the control room, mirroring their heartbeat against the tempo of chaotic energy swirling all around. "Joss!" Marcus called as the automated army's sensors whirred to life, a wall of drones drawn toward their fleeing figures. "Get out of there! They're locking onto me!" Joss yelled amidst the chaos, horror lacing his voice as he desperately tried to abort the failed commands he had set. "I can't stop them from focusing on the signal. Create a distraction." Marcus fired again, narrowly missing the drones as they swiveled and clustered into heavier formations, robotic precision swarming like a hungry tide. Just as the walls, now trembling with impending collapse, delivered their last breath of hope, Joss reached out, fingers dancing over multiple keys until fire blazed forth in an adjacent corridor, catching the attention of the drones nearest him. Their focus momentarily disrupted, he sprinted toward open space and a chance at escape. "Go, Joss!" shouted Rowan, instinctively pulling Marcus back to shield him, as remnants of the drones collapsed amid the chaos, only to be met with a barrage of chaotic sparks and lights that enveloped them. The drones buzzed angrily as the Keeper glared. But through the spectacle of madness, Marcus felt an awakening within, a sense that even amid the devastating struggle, the very essence of their journey was to reclaim humanity's knowledge, to push past the boundaries that had been laid before. "Let's finish this." The words felt foreign yet burning with meaning, rage channeled through his bow as he locked eyes on the Keeper, firm in his belief that victory was not merely an option, but a necessity. "I will not let you take what should not be yours." The figure lunged forward, but Marcus met the challenge head-on, loosing another bolt that struck with precision, grazing the Keeper's shoulder. The power surged, coursing through the vault as the reverberations intensified, the divide deepening as the Keeper stepped toward the light, momentarily losing the sense of focus within their mechanical weapon. Joss rejoined them, breathless yet on fire, adrenaline coursing through him. "What now?" "Get to the control room." "I can't hold them off forever," Marcus shouted, his voice extending through the chaos. "I'll transfer the data," Joss shouted breathlessly, moving quickly as he stepped closer to the console barricade that lay in the shadow of the Keeper's back. Rowan tightened her grip on her dagger as she darted forward, feeling the sheer force of adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Distract them, Marcus. I'll cover you." Realization struck, the incandescent hope against despair reflecting fervently. There was no backing down. The vault cried out for freedom, the echoes defined by lost souls and forgotten power. Together, they would quiet the cries, and reclaim that which belonged to humanity, to grasp the past that could lead to a brighter tomorrow. "No!" Marcus shouted, aligning his aim as he darted ahead to the foremost drones. He loosed another bolt, this time striking true, and sparks erupted from within. Rowan followed suit, lunging at the nearby drones, feeling the surge of life in every movement. Her dagger caught the glowing lights, sending the drones spinning into chaos. Desperation charged their movements as they began to malfunction, blown apart by their frenzied commands. "Almost there," Joss urged again, sweat trickling down his brow as he interspersed commands, all the while trying to download the secrets of the vault, the potential of a world concealed. "Hold on," Marcus shouted fiercely as the Keeper charged once more, only for Marcus to sidestep, firing again, his aim determined through the haze of chaos. "This ends now." The energy behind his shot intensified as it struck directly against the Keeper's shoulder, momentarily staggering them. Just as the momentum shifted, Joss lunged toward the console and initiated a rapid upload. "Transferring now?" Joss called over the cacophony of malfunction, feeling the weight of their mission resting on his shoulders. With the sudden guidance of momentum, they felt chaos shift, the threshold trembling, as the remnants of time shouted for liberation, electric against the heart of despair. The Keeper narrowed their gaze, rebalancing the weapon to focus on Joss just as Marcus charged forward, tapping into strength born of urgency. "We won't let you." But the Keeper was too skilled. With just a flick of the wrist, the weapon fired a shot that ricocheted against steel, returning the forces of control against them, as devastation erupted in a blast of sparks. "Joss!" Rowan cried as she moved instinctively, vaulting in front of him just in time to absorb the oncoming strike. She stumbled forward, the drone's energy swirling wildly around her as she fell, but determination ignited within her, unyielding even against the dark. "Rowan!" Marcus shouted, heart-wrenching in disbelief, leaping forward but feeling the charging energy of chaos binding him to vengeance. His grip intensified around the crossbow, aiming unwaveringly. Get up, get up." Joss yelled frantically, hands trembling as he rushed to her side, shooting an imploring look toward Marcus before shifting back to the terminal. "Get the systems online. Now," Marcus commanded, heart racing as he fired again, striking down another drone that surged forth clumsily, frantically trying to engage them all. And just when it felt hopeless, Joss smashed the last command, igniting the system's final component while chaos roared around them. Lights flashed in triumphant colors, information surging forth like a dance. "Download complete," he shouted as the small devices they carried sparked with new life, mystical memories captured within their circuitry, the wisdom of generations captured within the breath of forgotten secrets, the future they sought held within hands that trembled ever so slightly. "The core," Rowan shouted, fighting against her body's weariness. "We need to short-circuit the entire system." "Right," Joss shouted as he began rerouting electrical pathways. Marcus continued to fire at the encroaching enemy, dodging drone shots that filled the room with chaos. Rowan supported Joss as she blocked an incoming strike, parrying through sheer determination. The Keeper's malevolence faltered momentarily. "It will not matter," the Keeper shouted, transcending in their rage. "You don't realize what you're tampering with." Marcus's resolve hardened, the energy swirling around him electrifying. There was purpose threaded in every bolt he released. He shot again, aiming directly for the Keeper's weapon, his heartbeat sensing with the rhythm of their final moments. With a precise shot that echoed through the hall, the Keeper staggered, weapon skidding across the hard floor, an exhalation of disbelief emanating from beneath the shadowed mask. In the haze of defiance and reluctant awareness, destiny held its breath, timing against time, existence countering the faceless Keeper who threatened to annihilate their chance of hope. "Let's finish this," Marcus shouted, leading the charge and rallying against the darkness, the choices they made now interwoven into a tapestry. Rowan began her advance, still weakened but burning with purpose. "Together," they called in unison, hearts and hopes aligned toward creating an escape, a release from the perilous grasp of shadows that sought to extinguish their quest. With one last burst of defiance, they lunged toward the core, the chaos swirling angrily around them as they prepared for release. Joss tightened the final connections, looped through the circuitry, and at last, the internal hum crescendoed. The room trembled and shuddered, one final surge battling against the chaos of time, as the Keeper cried out in protest, fingers racing toward the terminal in a desperate grasp for control. And yet, energy surged from Joss's palm into the core, illuminating the darkness and restoring balance. The Keeper's cries drowned amidst the eruption of clarity, awakening the specters of lost memories that had haunted the legacy of generations past. "Now, release it," Marcus shouted, eyes alight with determination, as the energy erupted until every drone misaligned, consumed in a burst of blinding radiance. In that moment shrouded in chaos and the luminous pulse of awakening, the intruder fell backward against the blast, their form folding against the brilliance, facing the dawn of clarity, an embodiment of knowledge freed from the gripping chains of the past. The vault's legacy rippled through the air, echoing with a haunting promise, resounding deeper than existence itself. An act of rebellion against the tumult of time. As the brilliance illuminated, enveloping them whole, shadows lingered before fading into starlight, a reminder that the past bore witness to their journey, granting wisdom steeped within attainment, and the promise of hope reignited. Finally the silence settled around them, and exhaustion rushed through their limbs. Shadowed specters beneath layers of chaos surrendered to light, illuminating the chamber in depth and warmth. In the aftermath, Joss stared wide-eyed at the terminal, breathing heavily as the systems lit up around them. We did it," he whispered, disbelief rippling through him like fabric woven with fate. Rowan nodded, clutching Marcus's shoulder for balance as reality settled. "We survived. But at what cost?" Marcus murmured, looking toward the remnants of the Keeper and its drones which now lay scattered either side of them. "For enlightenment," Joss interjected, heart swelling. "For a tomorrow beyond shadows." The trio exchanged a knowing glance, defined by the weight of their shared experience. Together, they had transcended fear, woven through challenge and darkness to emerge hurt yet resolute. A soft pulse emanated from Joss's devices, warming the air with possibilities, the vault's legacy now intertwined with their own lives. Within those glimmers of neon, buried remnants of knowledge harbored secrets untold, shining brightly with the hope that extended forth. "Where do we go from here?" Rowan asked cautiously, exhaustion heavy in her bones, but the fire in her heart refusing to wane. "Together," Marcus affirmed, voice steady, the shadows unraveling in the embrace of dawning light. "No more hiding in the past. We take the light with us, move forward, and rebuild from here." Though the vault lay in ruins, they had claimed more than mere data. They had claimed purpose, a commitment to push against the barrage of chaos and uncertainty. As they stepped forward, instinctively united, the doors to the vault wrought open beneath shimmering lights, not as mere survivors, but as harbingers of a new dawn, a bridge across the remnants of a powerful legacy reformed, the echoes of twilight fading into the promise of a day reborn. In their hands, the future stirred, a blend of knowledge and resilience. What had once been hidden beneath the storms of time now surged forth, imbued with the strength to forge not only their destinies, but the essence of humanity itself. The chains of disillusionment shattered, and hope blossomed amidst the ashes. With hearts tethered by their shared experiences, they emerged with clarity illuminating their path, the weight of legacy guiding their strides toward a balanced future forevermore, hand in hand and unwavering. And thus they vanished into the light, their journey a testament to the strength that resides in unity, the promise of a brighter tomorrow now thrumming beneath their fingers, ready to reclaim a world rebirthing from shadows anew.